Calling All Authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, hosted by Robert A. Lane, is on the air, featuring everything you need to know about narrating your own audiobook. But it doesn't stop there. From special guests, including authors and professionals from the book industry, to sharing tools and techniques needed to be a confident and compelling narrator. The journey starts now. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
As always, thank you. Want to thank you for joining the podcast. I do appreciate it. We're going to talk about audiobook emotion. Where's your audiobook emotion? That is such a key factor in creating an awesome, compelling, and engaging audiobook. Where is that emotion? Where is that compassion? So on this episode today, I want to go with you or take you on a little emotional journey so that you can think of when you do your narration, when you're doing your audiobook narration, think of these things. Think of things that can help you bring out the intangibles. The intangibles are those things that you can't, maybe not necessarily physically touch, though sometimes you can when it comes to emotion, but you do emotionally feel. And those intangibles are your energy, your emotion, your genuine authenticity. Genuine authenticity. You got to have that. Your sincerity. All these things that are emotions, all these things that you actually, now I know I say you can't necessarily physically touch, but as I mentioned, you can feel them, all right? You do feel them. And in a sense, that is physical because when you're excited, when you're anxious, where physically are you feeling these things in your body? So you can physically touch it or experience it, I guess really would be a better way of putting it. Now, when it comes to your audiobook narration, now we've heard these, right? We've heard narrations done by either the author or done by a supposed professional narrator that people hire, and they sound reedy. They sound mediocre. They sound monotone. They sound lack of energy. That's not good, and that's not a good representation of what your book is about. You, as an author, have written an incredible book. And you want to make sure that every piece of that product that you have out there in whatever format, your audiobook, your ebook, your paperback, your hardcover, every single format that your book is in, it needs to be top-notch. People want to go and read your book and they pick whatever format or even listen to your book, and they expect you to provide them with the best possible product that's out there. Okay. So important for you to always remember that because you are an entrepreneur. As an author brand, you are a brand. These are your products, and you want to make sure that the products that you are putting out there that represent your brand, that you want people to buy, are the best that you can possibly offer them. Okay. Because that's what people expect. I expect it, and I think you should expect that too, and I'm sure you do. If when you order something from Amazon and it's subpar product, what do? You return it, right? It's the same thing with your audiobook. You want people to be so engaged that they're on their edge of the seats. They're on the edge of their seats listening to you tell your story. So how do you get that emotion? How do you bring that emotion out? First thing is always be tapped in to the core reason of why you wrote this book in the first place. Why was it so important for you to tell this story? Why? What was the factor that was the driving fire that was lit inside you to write the book that you have now published, or maybe you're maybe your first time writer and you're in the process of writing your book? What's driving you to do this? To have the world read your story, to have the world hear your story when you turn it into an audiobook. What is that driving force? You always need to be tapped into that core reason why, because that's where that is like the seed of the emotion as it grows. It's planted right there in that why. That's where you need to always be tapped into, because that's going to bring out that emotion. Okay. And again, I talked about sincerity and those intangibles: sincerity, uh, authenticity, emotion, your energy, all of those things. Bringing that to the table when you do your audiobook narration. Now, when you have your book, all right, and you're going to narrate your own audiobook, and again, I highly recommend, and I'm a big advocate, especially for nonfiction authors, you got to narrate your own audiobook. It's your story. Nobody can tell your story better than you, period. No one can. You lived it, you breathed it, you experienced it. It is your story, even for fiction writers. If you're a fiction writer and you've written a book and you need to narrate it, and you know what? 9 out of 10 times you can narrate your own fiction story. I'm going to have a guest, I think that on a podcast coming up, actually. Her name is Senya Merck, and she narrated a fiction book that her husband wrote. Her husband had passed away, and she's carrying on his legacy, which I love it. This is such a great thing. And when she comes on to be my guest, you have to, you got to check it out, because she has such an incredible story. But the book, her husband had written 3 books, and one of the books was a fiction book, and that's the book that we worked on first. We're working on our second book right now, and then we'll be doing the third. But she's going to talk about her first book that she narrated. It's out there. It's out there in the world. It's called Ghost Flower. It's by William Merck, her husband. And it's a great story. And I'm really excited to have her on the show. So make sure you tune into that. But the point is that even though it was a fiction story, it was the content that was the driving force of keeping you on the edge of your seat, because you wanted to know what happens in this story. It doesn't matter that there were several characters. When Senya is narrating this book, you know who's talking. You know what the characters are. I visualize and I picture in my mind these characters. I can see what they're doing. The book is written in such a great visualization way that you can see it in your mind's eye. That's a great story, and she did a great job of storytelling, because that's what it really is. It's storytelling. She brings up the emotion. She taps into each character and brings up their emotion and their personality. And you know what? She didn't do voices. She didn't have to create crazy voices for every single character and just try to remember who sounds like what. No, you tell your story, because it's the content that matters. The content is king, always is. If you wrote a great story, you don't need to try to fluff it up with a bunch of voices. That are they really moving your story forward, or is it just there because you feel like, oh gee, I gotta overproduce my audiobook? There's no need to. So as a fiction author, you can narrate your own audiobook. Now, there are times, of course, where you do have a lot of characters, and maybe they are from all over the world in different dialects, or if you're doing a space adventure, right? Galaxies and people from other planets or whatever. You may want to get a voiceover person to create these characters, create these dialects, maybe create new spoken dialogue, right? Then that makes sense. But most of us can narrate our own audiobook, and you need to bring that emotion forward. So number 1, tap into your core reason. The second thing, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier about being authentic, being your true authentic self. You have to be your true authentic self. Be who you are. Don't try to sound like somebody else. Don't try to act like somebody else. Don't try to emulate somebody else. If you wrote a self-help book, for example, and you're like, I got to sound like Tony Robbins. No, you don't. Or what was that movie with Jim Carrey? Where he has to say yes to everything. I'm forgetting the title. Can you believe it? Maybe the movie's called Yes Man. Is it Yes Man? I got to look it up. But anyway, he goes to that seminar, and then the guy's like, oh, major energy. I'm so inspirational, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to be like that. You need to be you. Because here's the interesting thing. You're an author brand. How you speak, how you communicate, how you express yourself. Matter of fact, of course, everything about you is your author brand, the way you're brought up, your belief systems, your morals, your values, all those things that encompass who you are as a person, and your voice, especially your voice. That's all part of who you are. That is your author brand. That is, you're an entrepreneur, right? That's your brand. That is what makes you you, and that's what allows you to stand out in a crowd. So you want to be your true authentic self. And when you are your true authentic self, you are bringing that emotion of who you are across in your narration. Okay. That's how you tap into that emotion, by being you. All right. And it really does help you stand out in a crowd. If you're a self-help guru and you've written a book about relationships or about jobs or career or health or, weight loss or whatever, what's going to get you to stand out in the crowd? You, your brand, who you are. That's what allows you to stand out, because there, again, is no one else like you. And that's such a great thing. We are all unique individuals. So narrating your own audiobook is bringing that forward, of course, and it's solidifying your author brand. When you get another narrator, they will do a great job technically and sound fine technically, but there still is a disconnect. There's a disconnect because they didn't experience what you experienced. They didn't live your story. They didn't create your coaching program if you're a coach or an educator or an entrepreneur and you've written a book. They didn't experience your life experience if you're a memoir, if you wrote a memoir. They didn't experience the characters that you created when you wrote your fiction book. That was you. You created that. So there still is an emotional disconnect that another narrator, they're not going to be able to tap into. Again, so important for you to narrate your book because you are the one who created it. It's coming from the source. And there's no one else who can do it better than you, really. And again, I'm just going to say this briefly because I don't want to harp on this for the rest of the podcast. And that is, don't go the AI route, because you are now misrepresenting your author brand by having some computer generated voice, or even if you did voice cloning, the emotion, all of that, everything that I'm talking about in regards to having an emotional audiobook. Where's your audiobook emotion? It's not an AI. You just sucked the life out of it. It is soulless. There is no soul. The human factor needs to be in your audiobook, and only you can do that. AI cannot. I don't care how technically accurate it may sound like. It doesn't. It doesn't. And you can tell the difference. Why? Because the emotion is not there. That's the biggest difference. All right. Narrate your own audiobook. All right. And again, when it comes to your emotion, you can't let walls be built up around you to stop you from narrating your audiobook. You can't wall up that emotion. If you're using, I'm afraid of talking into a microphone or speaking in front of people, it makes me nervous, don't let that be a barrier stopping you, because what that does, it is puts an emotional block into your audiobook narration. Okay? That's what's so important. You don't want to stop yourself mentally. And that is such a key factor. And that's a lot of, I see this with, there's some other companies who, teach about how to do an audiobook. There's, places you can go to learn how to do it. There's people who say, I got the best DIY program ever, blah, 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 blah. And they teach you what to do, but they don't really express and show how you do it, how to do it, and how to do it right, and how to do it properly. You got to be careful with a lot of these programs that are out there, because they'll give you a lot of good information, but then they don't show you some of the behind the scenes things that you really need to do to express yourself. I want to do a shout out to Free Time Mastermind, by the way. Thank you, Robert Gaines, for joining me here on the podcast on YouTube. I do appreciate that. And by the way, Robert, I got to talk to you because Robert has a great podcast as well that you can catch and watch him on YouTube as well. And he has a great following, so check him out. Anyway, just wanted to give you a little plug. All right. So back to emotion. And, well, because you know what? He does a great podcast and he's very emotional about it. And that, again, is part of being a great audiobook narrator, is putting your emotion into it. All right. But like I'm saying about other programs and that kind of thing, just be wary. Okay. You can get great information, but do they give you everything? You're welcome, Robert. Do they give you everything that you need to do a great audiobook narration? And I'm telling you, a lot of these programs don't teach you about the intangibles, about the emotional aspect of doing a great narration. They say, well, just read it, or maybe you can practice it or whatever. But it's more than that. If you're reading monotone, if you don't have any emotion behind what you're saying, then it's not going to sound good for the listener. One of the things that I love doing and having the clients, the authors that go through my audiobook coaching program, is just telling them to be conversational. And how do you be conversational? You know how you be conversational? It's like, imagine yourself sitting in a restaurant or a coffee house with your best friend. And you have this incredible story that you want to share with them. So you look at that person that's sitting across from you and you feel very comfortable and relaxed, and you're just having this awesome conversation. That's what narrating your audiobook is all about. Because you know what? In your book, you wrote it in your style, right? The way you express yourself is already in the written word. Your voice is in the written word. It's already here. It's already in your book. You're just bringing it to life. You're just bringing it to life. And when people hear you tell your story, and I hear it all the time, I hear people telling me how much they love hearing the author tell their story, because they love hearing it coming from the source. It's the person who had actually experienced it, as opposed to, somebody, a historian writing a book about a famous person. Well, it's coming from second person or even third person or whatever. It's not coming from the source. And that's why people love hearing the author narrate their own books, their own audiobooks, because it is coming from the source and it's being expressed in a way that no one else can express it. So again, tap into that emotion. Do not allow barriers to stop you. If you feel nervous, if you're telling yourself that people won't like your voice, what you're doing is you're creating a false scenario in your mind that is creating a barrier and a roadblock and a wall that you're blocking an emotion of expression, because you're saying, oh, people won't like how I sound. How do you know that? What do you know? I mean, are you a mind reader? No, you're not, because you know what? 9 out of 10 times, that's not what somebody is thinking. What they're interested is hearing what you have to say. It's the content of what you need to say, of what you want to tell, your story. That's what makes people listen. They're not so focused on your vocal tone or if you have an accent or whatever. It's like, hey, I can say, I don't have an accent, but you know what? If I go to the UK, you better believe it that I'm the one who has the accent. So just be you. Just be your true, authentic self, because that's what's going to make your audiobook sound fantastic. And trust in yourself. Believe in yourself. Have confidence in yourself. You do have a great voice. Relax. You have a great voice. Tell your story. All right? Have that specific person in mind when you're telling your story, so you can imagine them, or get a picture of them and tape it by your computer when you record your audiobook so you can see them. It'll help you relax. I mean, you know what? Just remember, you have a great voice. You have this wonderful sound that is part of your author brand, that allows you to be you, that helps identify your uniqueness. So embrace it. Embrace it. It's a great voice. Love how you sound. Love and embrace your voice. And one thing that will help bring out the emotion is stop worrying about the past. Stop worrying about the future. Be in the now. Be in the present moment. You're going to go, let's say you're going to go narrate your audiobook, and I'm going to work on, I just pulled up chapter 4. Chapter 4 is what I'm recording today. Great. Then read it over, read it out loud, practice it a few times, record yourself doing it and play it back and see how it sounds and how it feels. But remember, tap into that emotion. All right. Get yourself grounded and be in the present moment. So, like, okay, so I'm going to do chapter 4. This is what I'm going to do. Nothing else matters except doing a great narration. And be conversational about it. And don't force emotion because you don't need to. When you are telling your story and you do hit something that's maybe sad or happy or exciting, whatever the emotion is, let it come out naturally. That's being authentic. Because when you're forcing it, man, people are not going to want to listen to that. I'm so happy. No, you're not. You're a bad actor. You don't want to do that. I'm so sad. Don't force it. Let the emotion come out. You know what? Matter of fact, I'm going to mention this. Go to my website. All right, at robertlanecoaching.com. And there's links in the description as well if you want to go there and check it out. All right, go there and scroll down on the homepage. There are clips of authors who've narrated their audiobooks, have gone through the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach. Listen to their clips. You're going to hear their emotion just naturally flow out because that's how they speak. That's how they express themselves. They didn't have to force it. They just let it come out naturally and allowed themselves to be their true, authentic self. Listen to these clips because they're great. And the authors did such fabulous work. They sound so good. And they're not professional speakers. But what they did was that they tapped into their core reason of why they wrote their book. They understand and just value the reason why they felt so compelled to publish this book for the world to read, especially if it's a memoir where it's so personal. And usually the core reason is this. They have a story that they need to tell, because they want to help others. I'm telling you, man, 99% of the books that I work on, even the fiction books, there's a story behind it. And they want to get that story out because there is somebody out there who can connect to that story. There's somebody out there who can relate to that. There's somebody out there who maybe is going through the same trauma that you went through when you wrote this story. Examples about the books that I worked on about the authors who talked about their cancer journey, very personal. But maybe you're going through one and you listen to what they went through and it's like, oh, there's somebody out there who gets it. They understand the emotions that I'm feeling, or maybe it's depression, or maybe it is something positive. It doesn't always have to be negative. Maybe it's a great adventure. And you visited, let's say, someone's telling a story about how they visited a foreign country and it was the most incredible experience ever. And it makes you feel so good that you want to go there and you want to travel there. Or maybe you've been there and you're just like, wow, yeah, I can totally relate to that. That's why people read books and they listen to audiobooks, because it's an experience. It's an experience and it's an emotional experience. So where's your audiobook emotion? I ask that question again. Where is that audiobook emotion? You got to bring it in. And again, by doing that, you got to believe in yourself, love your voice. Who cares what other people think? It's one of my catchphrases. I say, I am who I am, I do what I do, and I'm not ashamed of it. Meaning that it doesn't matter what other people think, doesn't matter. I am who I am, I do what I do, and I'm not ashamed of it because I believe in myself. And what that is a confidence thing. It's not arrogance. And it's not saying something like, I don't care what other people think in a vindictive way. No, it's stating fact. I am who I am. I do what I do. I believe in myself. I have confidence in my voice. I am a great narrator. I wrote this fantastic book. This is what you're telling yourself, okay? Because you're putting in these affirmations and pushing out all this, false beliefs and negativity that doesn't belong. It doesn't belong in your subconscious. Believe in yourself. And when you do that, you're going to bring that emotion to the table and it will come out naturally. Just be your true authentic self. That makes all the difference in the world. You will get that audiobook emotion there. You don't have to force it. You just have to be yourself. Believe in yourself. Be your true authentic self and always tap into the core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place, because that core reason is going to come out in your audiobook narration. And bring that energy. Then bring that emotion, let it flow naturally. And finally, just one point that I want to make before we wrap things up here is this: consistency. You got to be consistent from opening credits to closing credits. You got to be consistent. So make sure that your energy level, your emotion, everything is even, or, well, I don't want to say even kill, because there are emotional arcs that you go through just with any kind of story that you tell. But the point is, if you are narrating your book and you're talking like this and this, and you have this kind of energy, and then you next day you go record the next chapter and you're kind of talking something, blah, 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 and you change your energy, that's going to be noticeable to the listener, remember, because they are listening to your book. They may be driving. If I drive from, one city to another and I got like 3-4 hours of driving to do, I'm going to listen to an audiobook. I don't want that energy to be changing from chapter to chapter. That's inconsistent. It just takes you out of the story. So just remember that consistency is really, really important. All right. Now, if you do need help creating an audiobook, that's what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. I'd love to talk with you. Book a call with me. All right. There's links in the description to book a call. There's also links about the VIP program where I work with authors on a one-on-one basis. There's also the DIY version where I give you all the tools you need to create your audiobook yourself. Check them out. All right. And book a call. Let's have a conversation. I want to find out about your book. I want to tell you more about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer and how I can help you create an awesome, compelling audiobook with this 12-week program. And I will work with you, and I guarantee you will be published properly the first time, because I take care of your editing and do all the uploading for you, provide you with the equipment you need to set up your own recording space, and teach you the fine art of what it takes to do a compelling narration. It's great. And I'd love to help you out. So check it out. Check out those links. They're in the description, and would love to help you out. And finally, my friends, as always, when you're out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment, because that small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's life. And we need to spread more positivity in this world, and it starts with you. So let's do it. All right. A simple thing, right? Tell 10 of your friends to do it, right? And then they tell 10 of their friends, and you're going to create this whole great wave of positivity by going out there and smiling at a stranger and saying hello and giving them a compliment. Barely takes a few seconds of your time, but you can make a difference in somebody's life. So be a life changer. All right. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I do appreciate you so much. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you go to my YouTube channel at Robert Lane Coaching, just type that in, or pull it up, subscribe. All right. I do appreciate you. Again, thank you so much. If there's a topic you'd like me to talk about the audiobook world, just let me know. You can always reach me at robertlanecoaching.com. All right, my friends, have a great week. We'll talk to you next week on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. Take care.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode. And remember, only you can narrate your story the way it's meant to be heard.